The Advisory Council on Hearing Aids meeting is convening at 9:01 a.m. on October 11, 2024. This meeting is being held in person and by MS Teams video conference is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through MS Teams keep your phone muted and cameras off during the entire meeting until you're given an opportunity to comment during the public interested parties feedback period, if indicated on the agenda. Please do not use the chat feature during meetings, and I will now call roll. Doug Welsh, absent. Lorraine Henriquez is absent. Chelsea Montgomery.
Present.
Vladimir Gutierrez.
Present.
Peggy Kelly.
Present.
Todd Williams.
Present.
And Jennifer Alexander is also absent. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. Public members wishing to speak must first sign in on the roster sheet available for public members on MS Teams. Please email Josh Page at josh.page@oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Public interested parties feedback may be heard during public interested parties feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. Meeting is called to order. Okay. So first item on the agenda is to elect a chair for this meeting. Or someone can volunteer to be chair.
This is Chelsea. I volunteer to be chair.
Okay. And do we have a second? For Chelsea to be chair?
Second.
Todd Williams will second her.
Okay, we've had a first and a second for Chelsea to be chair today. I'll do roll. Chelsea, aye or nay?
Aye.
Vladimir?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
All right, thank you all. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We need a first and a second.
Peggy Kelly moved to approve.
Vlad Gutierrez second that motion.
Okay, first and a second has been made. I'll do roll. Chelsea?
Aye.
Vladimir?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
And Todd?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting dates. And those dates are March 28th at 9 a.m. and October 10th at 10 a.m. So if everybody can take a look at their calendars, or if you already know, those days work.
This is Todd Williams. I would not be able to make the March 28th date.
Okay. To that on my calendar.
This is Peggy Kelly. I would have potential trouble on the October date.
Okay.
And this is Chelsea. I might have potential trouble with the March date.
Okay, so those are all Fridays. Does someone want to pick another date in March and October that'll work?
This is Chelsea. For March, I'd throw out the 21st. It's the Friday preceding.
This is Todd Williams. I
Calendar.
can second that.
Okay, give me a second, please. March 21. We could probably do that. And then what about the October date?
I'm the only one. It's just I'm on call, so it's would just be a potential I could ask for coverage. Everybody
Okay.
else can make that one.
Okay, I mean, if you can't make it and we have quorum, we're good to go. And I mean, anytime during the year, if things come up and looks like we're not gonna have quorum, we can always work on another date too. So I need a motion for the 2025 meeting dates for 9 a.m. March 21st and 9 a.m. October 10th.
This is Chelsea. I motion to confirm.
In a
This
second.
is Todd. I'll second it.
Okay. Had a first and a second. We'll call roll. Chelsea,
Aye.
Vladimir,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
and Todd.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is chair and vice chair. And both Doug and Lorraine their terms expire. Doug's expires in September of 2026 and Lorraine's expires January of 2028. So they're both good for 2025 if the rest of you approve, or if somebody else wants to be chair, you can nominate yourself, or if somebody wants to nominate somebody, they can be the chair. And then a vice chair. So what's the board's thought on that?
This is Todd Williams. I'm fine with keeping Doug and Lorraine in their seats.
This is Vlad Gutierrez. I actually second that motion. That's okay with everyone else?
Peggy Kelly, fine with me.
Yep, same. Fine with me.
Okay. So motion has been made to keep Doug as the chair and Lorraine as vice chair. And first and second, and I will call roll. Chelsea,
Aye.
Vladimir,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
and Todd.
Aye.
Todd, was that an affirmative?
Aye. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, no, not a problem. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the practical dates. And this morning I was made aware that our staff member who would be hosting those dates has informed me that January 6th was not going to work for her because her son is going into the military, and thank you to him, Trish. And so we have January 7, which is the Tuesday following, or 13th, the next Monday. Does anyone on the board have a preference to the 7th or the 13th?
This is Chelsea. I'd vote for the 13th. I think there was discussion before that most of the people taking the exam preferred to do it on Fridays or Mondays for travel reasons.
Okay, that's great because we were racking our brains. Why are they always on Monday? So that works. So can I get a motion to approve the practical exam schedule for January 6, 2025, April 7, 2025, July 14, 2025, and October 6, 2025.
This
So
is
moved.
Todd. I'll move
Thank you,
to
Kelly.
those dates.
Okay, Todd made a motion. Can I get a second?
Peggy Kelly second.
Okay, and I will call roll. Chelsea,
Aye.
Vladimir,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Y'all are making this real easy for me today. The next item on the agenda is the director's report, and I'll start with the board members standing on the board. So I talked about Doug and Lorraine. Doug's second term ends September in 2026. He cannot reappoint. Lorraine's second term expires January 27 of 2028. She cannot reappoint. Todd Williams is in a first term and it expires 7/31 of 27 and can reappoint. Vladimir Gutierrez is in a first term and that term expires April 30, 2027. Chelsea Montgomery, and Vladimir can reappoint. Chelsea's first term expires June 29 of 2026, can reappoint. Peggy's first term expires July 31 of 2027, and Peggy can reappoint. Jennifer Alexander is in a first term, and it expires March of 27, and Jennifer can reappoint. So Derek, or actually we just hired a new exec support, but she hasn't come on board yet. So we'll be working with the governor's office to replace Doug and Lorraine at the appropriate time. Also want to call to the board's attention that there's some required trainings, and the trainings are in your materials. There's an overview of boards and commission. It's required once per term. And if you haven't done it, you can click the hot link in the materials and it'll take you to it in Workday. The other two, information security training and preventing discrimination and harassment, are required annually. So if you haven't done it for 2024, please do it. And then the last one is an Ethics Commission's overview of Oregon ethics law. It is optional, but I recommend taking it because it's very informative. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, this is Chelsea. I've had some issues accessing the trainings. I'm in touch with Workday, but those, I wasn't able to get those links in the document. Anybody else have trouble with that? It just kind of copies the information, didn't have an option to click to a link.
I'm not seeing anybody else that's had trouble. Chelsea, Vladimir, I saw you light up. Are you having issues with it as well?
No, I actually just checked and it does link. So I'm not sure if it's maybe the copy that Chelsea got that may not be working.
Perfect. I'll try it in a different format.
Okay, and then Chelsea, reach out to Josh. His link is in the materials as well, and just let him know if you're able to get in to it or not, and we'll work on it from this end. And maybe your computer is blocking you if you're using a company computer.
Well, my issue is that apparently I'm on an enterprise learner account and not a board member account. So my trainings aren't showing up in the appropriate place. I don't know my Oregon number, but they're going to help me with it later.
Oh, okay. So you're already in process of getting it fixed.
Correct. Yeah, we're working on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
And this is Peggy Kelly. I just had one point of information on the current councilship membership list. It just has my name misspelled. It's Kelley.
Okay, I see Josh and Derek are both on here. We'll have that fixed. Apologize for that. Okay, the next item is continuing on with the director's report are the slides for the licensing and fiscal statistical reports. So if you're following along on your screen, I'm on slide 17. And I'll cover real quick. The state works on fiscal years, which are not your regular calendar years. They run from July 1 of any particular year to June 30 of the following year. So that's why in quarter one, it shows fiscal year 2025, and we've issued 16 licenses in quarter one of 2025, which is July, August, and September. Those 3 months. Licenses renewed in quarter one of 2025. We've renewed 46 and 39 of those were online, which is what we'd like to see. The next slide on page 19, licensed by age and gender. We have a good variety of those identifying by male and female, and we actually have some in the age range of 74 to 81 that are still maintaining a license. Licensing trends, it looks like it's a real big spread and drop off, but from quarter four of 23, where there was 225 permanent licenses average, we're up to or down to 218 for quarter one of 2025. Temporary licenses, we are at an average of 20 for quarter one of 2025. Trainee registrations are up a little bit to 28 on one of 2025. And on slide 23 or page 23, slide 23, whatever you want to call it, the hearing aid testing results. It looks like we have had a total of 88 pass and 29 fail for 2025. Any questions on this slide or any of the other slides? Okay, in your financials, you've had a beginning cash balance in fiscal year 2025 of $307,078. And you've brought in $5,975 in revenue. We've had $13,249 in expenditures and a net operations of $7,274 in the negative, bringing your cash balance to $299,803. But as we move through fiscal year 2025, those numbers will continue to increase. So you're financially pretty well where we need you to be. Any questions? All right, we'll move on to the regulatory report. Trampus.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Trampus. I'm the interim regulatory manager here at the Health Licensing Office, and I am just here to go over this regulatory report. On this report, you can see on the left, you can see the cases open, cases closed status. Has 3 biennium on there out of the 24 in the 2021 biennium, 1 is still hanging on there. So we got 1 open in that time frame. The 2023 biennium, out of the 21 that we received that biennium, 7 are still open. And then the 2025 biennium, you can see we've received 9 and 8 are still open. And in actuality, I was just looking at these numbers, and a little bit has shifted. A couple of the 2023 in the interim between this getting reported and the board meeting today. A couple of those are closed, but then we've also got a couple of new ones for the new biennium. So the number is the same, 16 open cases, but they've shifted over a little bit as to where they are on the report. So complaints by type. So as you can see, the different bienniums show what those complaints are. Licensing concerns versus services provided. Licensing concerns are kind of what they sound like. They're issues with somebody's license, either somebody being unlicensed, probably not going to be on here. It would come up as unlicensed, but sometimes those fall into this licensing concern category. Or they could be in an inactive license, or something like that has more of a basis in their license status than the services they were providing. And then of all of the complaints, 10 were licensing concerns, and 44 were services provided. Services provided can be all kinds of different things. Just the hearing aid not fitting, people not rescinding, or all kinds of, all the rest basically besides licensing issues. And then you can see we don't have any anonymous complaints. They're all, we know who complained, who made all of the complaints. 21 of them were clients, and 33 were others. Others is kind of like the large category that if you're not the client, you fall into. So this could be a family member, or this could technically be a wife, or this could be a husband, or this could be some third party, a kid, or something like that too. So that is the kind of the overview of the licensing, or of the regulatory report. Does anybody have any questions about regulatory or the regulatory process, or anything I talked about here on the report?
This is Peggy Kelly.
Yeah.
How are the complaints moved through the system from open to closed? Who's reviewing those complaints?
Right. So, the complaints come in. They come in from various sources. They can come in, they get to the office. Most people fill out the real complaint form, the standard complaint form. Other times they don't. They just write us a letter or a note or a card or something like that. And we evaluate it here. We have a couple of levels of evaluation before it's open and assigned to an investigator. It kind of gets this baseline, hey, do we have enough information to even open this complaint? And then it comes to me to look at it. Do we have jurisdiction? Is there actually a violation that's being alleged? So, that standard is, if everything in the complaint is true, there's a violation. Now, sometimes that, not everything in there pans out to be, fully correct or whatnot. So, and that's where, but if we look at the complaint on the face of it, is it alleging a violation? If it is, then we're going to open that complaint and we're going to send it over to an investigator. If it doesn't, then we're either going to refer it back to the complainant to see if there's something we missed, or close it. So then it moves through the process as far as getting investigated. The investigator will, they'll do all the interviews, they'll get the records, they even have a subject matter expert that they can consult with if necessary. And then they'll come to a conclusion if they find that there is a violation of the laws or rules, and it is something like a records issue, or they failed to do this test or that test. A lot of those types of violations are already set forth in rule as to what the disciplinary action would be. So civil penalties, there's a civil penalty matrix, and it says if you did this, you get, and it's the first time offense, you get this fine. So then if we find that, then we'll write that and send that notice out to the respondent, and go through that process. If it's the violation that isn't quite defined, or we think that that needs more explanation, or we just think for whatever reason it needs to come to the board to look at it because it's a situation where maybe we're feeling a little gray on it or something, or it's a particular interest, we'll bring it to the board for you all to look at and discuss and decide whether what should happen with it, whether it's a violation, if there's a violation, what should take place, and what type of, if any, disciplinary action would happen. And then we would move through that whole back-end process of a notice and the contested case process. So that's kind of the beginning to end lifespan of a case. And if it comes to me, by the way, and there's no violations, then it would be just closed out. So.
Hey, Kelly, just to follow up then, is it unusual to have a case that's still open from several years ago? So one temporary
Yeah,
specialist?
it can be if there's some kind of a, every once in a while something gets pushed around, or we're just having a problem. Sometimes an investigator will be working on a case and they'll have a hard time getting a hold of somebody, and the case will get set aside, or it will get moved from one investigator to another because an investigator leaves or something like that. And if you're talking about this 2021 case, that's pretty old, and I suspect that one will not be on there by the next board meeting. So I know it won't be on there next board meeting. Let me put it that way. So, but yeah, it's
Thank you.
unusual for something to be that old. That is unusual.
And Peggy, if I may, and for the other board members, this is Bob. HLO has an average, and it's over 200 cases for all of our boards and programs that come in annually, and with 6 investigators, that's a heavy caseload. So the investigators in Trampus are always prioritizing and reprioritizing daily, hourly, weekly. So, and then sometimes, like you said, investigators leave, or the priorities just supersede what complaint it is. But we are typically in touch with respondents, someone who's under investigation throughout the process. So to understanding the stress that a respondent may be under while under investigation, we have this communication with them to assure them that, we're working on it and we'll get it resolved as soon as possible.
Yes, I was just a little worried about somebody being under investigation that long, especially from a temporary licensee.
Yeah, you can probably rest assured that there may not be an issue with the individual. It's just taken us a while to, in prioritizing, reprioritizing, to get back to it and get it closed out. But like Trampa said, he'll have it closed out. He'll check with the investigator probably right after this meeting and get a clear understanding of what's going on. Any other questions go ahead, Trampus.
I was going to say, was there any other questions?
Okay. Chair, we
Actually
don't have
just one more question there.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
in the ones where there's a temporary hearing aid specialist investigation, does that prevent them from moving into a permanent spot, or is that independent?
Not necessarily.
No, typically, the process of denying somebody a license is, there has to be good cause, and until an investigation has been completed, unless there's some really egregious issue where we would be, and if we had an egregious issue, that would be, being pushed through probably a lot faster. But it doesn't prevent anybody from moving on to the next step unless there's unresolved disciplinary action. An unresolved disciplinary action would mean that we've actually issued a notice and then gotten a final order on that notice, so the action is final, and whatever it is they are supposed to have done, they haven't done yet. So a really common example would be if somebody has gone through or gotten a ticket of some sort, gotten a final order with a civil penalty, and they owe $500 or something, and they've gone through all the process, their appeal rights have run out, they owe the $500 now to the office, and then they come in and try to renew their license or get a new license or something like that. And then that would prevent them from moving forward with the process because they got to pay that $500 civil penalty that they owe before they can renew their license. If they were on probation and they had some kind of, or they had some other restriction, those things are usually spelled out in a way that would, if they're in compliance with that disciplinary action, then they would be able to, get their license or whatnot. If they were not in compliance with that the final order. But just being under investigation doesn't stop you from conducting business with the office. So that's the general answer. But I mean, there would be, exceptions to that rule. But
Thank you.
did we get all your questions answered, Peggy?
Yes.
Any other board member with questions? Okay.
No, thank you for bringing that up, Peggy. I had the same wondering about that open case.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, be public interested parties feedback. And I don't see any public on the phone or on the call. And we didn't receive any emails or anything that anybody wanted us to bring to the board. Other council business would be the next item on the agenda, and that would be something that we need to work on for the board and try to have it ready before the next board meeting. Hearing nothing. Chelsea, you've done a fantastic job today as the chair. Thank you very much.
You're very kind. Thank you.
So, Chair and members of the board, if there's no other business that we need to attend to today, I can adjourn the meeting if somebody would let me know that, and I will read us out.
This is Chelsea. I move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, so we don't have to have a motion. I just needed a cue to do this. So thank you very much, Chair. The Advisory Council on Hearing Aids meeting is adjourned at 9:35 a.m. Thank you all very much for taking time out of your day to spend it with us. This